Hello, my name is Hisham. In this practice, I've learned how to procedural model in Houdini. Before I started creating the big aircon unit, I started with a very simplistic version of it. Prior to this, I have watched a tutorial of Simon Verstraeten about how to create a procedural box. For the small unit, the first thing I did is create the box. The size doesn't really matter. The only thing that you should take in consideration is the depth of the box, because I want to do some Boolean operations with it, so a bit of depth would be handy. Then I aligned the box to be in the center of the scene. Next up, I used a poly bevel to chamfer the edges around. So after chamfering, I use a group node to select the faces. In this case, I want to select all the beveled faces and the top face, because I'm gonna do something different with the top face than the other faces around. And I don't want to place any detail on the chamfered. So I'm grouping them and then I'm blasting them and telling not the sides. So I blast that and then I use a sort node. With a sort node is really handy. I use it a lot in this project because you can, for example, set a seed and it's gonna randomly generate a point number for the face according to how much primitives you have. Primitives and faces are the same thing in Houdini. So that's really nice to like say, okay, I'm gonna blast 0 and 1, but if I change this, that changes all the time. So with that, you can place things like modules, like you can make a module and then place it differently, and every time with each seed, you will get a different outcome. So with the 3 and 1 faces, I made a poly extrude, just an insert. After the insert, I've booleaned it, booleaned the points, get some different looking panels, and then I did like an extrude. After that, an insert, and that's it. And with the other ones, like for example here, I say copy this 3 and 1, but don't select 3 and 1, select the opposite faces. So here I challenge the other. So here I tackle the other faces. So with this face, I wanted a bit more detail because there's not gonna be a pipe here. So I could have done like I did a bit more detail in it. Used the divide. As you can see, the divide is a really nice node to make like these cross sections, which can be found in the tutorial that's Simon did. So here I cleaned my mesh. So this was the first time that I used Houdini, like in procedural modeling. So you're gonna make mistakes, like for example, sorting are things that I've done with Vex with an attribute wrangle, which is obviously not needed because there's already a node for it. So those are those kind of things that you realize, oh, well, there's already a node for it. And how do I do this? And so it's a lot of back and forth learning. It's for the top generator, so I can use it later on. And with the other side of the box, so the other faces, I use the group to select the faces that I want. For again, the same principle. Here I did an insert, then I did another insert, then another one. Then I blasted that face, the inside face, and used an add to remove the geometry, but only keep the points. Then I copied the points, use a copy to points to place a bolt model that I've made before. Made it smaller with a transform node. Deleted some useless attributes. And then I placed the screws on the points. So this is a really nice way how you can like just easily select the points and then place objects on those points. Then with the other side, I went on and made a groove in there. Then I made a tube where I then I made a tube where I refer to the top face and the scale of the top face, and use that to place it in the middle of the top face, and then we get this. Then I use that tube to boolean. I boolean it, then I bevel the outer edges. Those are automatically, I can turn them on to like save this edge for me later, so I can use it later on to like boolean. Then I delete the face, I use a polyfill to fill it, do some extruding with it, and then quadrangulate to remain, to have no n-gons. You can also divide, that's also an option. With quadrangulate you need to fuse it later on, otherwise you're gonna have loose points. Then I merge the other object with it, and now for the yes. Output, and now for the animation, I just made a plane, a grid. Then I scaled it to the size that I wanted, and use the transform node. Then attribute fop with a simple switching it like only so. Then I use a simple switch node to only select the bottom, don't move the bottom, give it an attribute that we use to multiply. So 0 means don't move it, 1 means of course like just move it. Then I use a simple sine wave for this objects on the z-axis, so it can just like move around, have that like that wavy effect. Then I copy to point that on a scatter point, so I scatter some points on that face, on that round boolean face that was left over, that middle piece. I scatter some points on it, and then use the copy to points to place some random cloth that flows with the wind, and then I merge it. And I merge it again with the other faces. Then I fuse it and clean it, apply some normals on it, and then merge the pipes. So for the pipes, it's quite makes sense. So I get the faces that I want to, I put them in, and then I tell for each face select the normal of the points. So I assign some normal. So for the tubes, I use it for each node. So I go over every phase that comes in here. I make sure that they have normals. The points have normals, so I can use that to in which direction I want the tube to move out. And I simply fuse the 4 points, use a peak node to create another point, so the peak like moves along the normal. I do the same thing for the other face, for the bottom face. So I grab from the same face, I grab only the bottom points. I use a sorting node for that. You can sort by y-axis, x-axis, and etc. I blast the bottom points, then I fuse the points. So I have a bottom point and a middle point and a third point. So now I have 3 points. Okay, and I can add, so I'm gonna turn this on. So I have 3 points. You need to add them in you need to merge them in the right order. And from there on I can polybevel it, polybevel the corner, the middle corner, and polywire it. And then of course, because this is too small, this value here, then After the poly bevel, then I poly wire it. Then I apply some normals on it. Then I make a group expression to select the normals. Then I create a group expression to select the angon, delete the angon, color it, auto UV it, and merge it with these things, which are basically from the beginning points that we have, a copy to point of another model that we've created, and we place the model on there for both the beginning and the end. And then we use it for each node, for each end node, which means the end of the for each, and then we are done. So another nice thing to do now is, after you got this, is to expose some variables. So you just have to pull on some sliders. You can adjust some things easily, like up and down. And you do that by clicking right click on a subnetwork. Like for example, to create a subnetwork, you just do create a blast, and you click on this box here, which is create the subnet, or Shift C to create it. So that's how you create those. And you can use a right click on the node and then parameters, edit parameter interface. So you drag in the color in here, then you press apply, accept, you go out of here, and you can see that you can use the same color here of the color node. It's linked to it, so you don't have to change it every time manually, which saves some time for other artists, or if you want to use it extensively yourself. Thank you for watching. This was the first model that I've made in Houdini, procedural link modeling, learning everything about new nodes, new techniques, approaching things differently by just experimenting. And yeah, it was fun. It was really fun to do.